As two professional songwriters and also two people who teach songwriting in universities and colleges around the world, Benny and I are super fascinated with why certain songs become wildly popular, but also how they work and also what we can learn from them.
So today we're going to be looking at the new Miley Cyrus song Flowers, a song that has blown up and broken all Spotify records with over 100 million streams in its first 7 days. So we're going to put it under the microscope. We're going to pull it apart. We're going to see what we can discover in terms of little things that might be appealing to certain people en masse. And then we're going to talk about how you can take those concepts and use them in your own songwriting.
Before we dive into looking at the song, we just want to mention very quickly here that you can check out our Patreon page. If you're a songwriter, you're interested in taking your songwriting a little bit further, you want to join a community of like-minded people, and even join in for a monthly live song feedback session and Q&A with Benny and I. So the link is in the show notes. Check that out. So Benny, what is it about this song?
What is it about this song?
What is it? So I think the question I framed for myself when listening to this song is, what do I think people are responding to in this song? And what am I responding to in this song, regardless of whether I like the song or not? Like for me as a songwriter, I just want to say firstly, as a songwriter, I'm trying to learn from everything. I'm trying to understand why people like certain things without judgment. You know, because there's something to be learned from everything that I can then apply into my own songwriting in my own style and way and method and to my own tastes and desires, right? So it's not about whether I like this song or not. I'm interested in why other people like this song and what is it about this song that I can learn from. So, Benny, what is it about this song? What are some things that you hear in this song that you think people are responding to?
I think the interesting thing about hearing a song for the first time is you get to check in with that first impression, kind of little radar that we've all got within us. And for me, the first thing I thought when I heard the song was, I don't know what era this is necessarily from. It had this very nostalgic kind of vibe. And upon first listening, it kind of took me back to some Bee Gees and some Kylie Minogue. It had this disco pop kind of thing. I don't know if that's the right genre that we would call it, but it certainly felt like it was, disco and pop combined in this, beautiful way. And the strings also took me back to some 70s tracks, like some early Elton John and I Will Survive. And all of these songs started jumping in my head, these references that weren't actually from the last 20 years. They were earlier. So I think that's the first thing that interested me. Here was a really contemporary song that's blown up, faster than any other song in the history of Spotify streaming. And yet it's really taking us back to this other era. What did you think?
Totally. I think there's a lot of nostalgia and nostalgic sound in this song. Other elements that felt quite nostalgic, I mean, like the beat itself was very reminiscent of Got to Give It Up by Marvin Gaye. It's the exact same tempo as well. So it's really got that same groove, that same rhythm, some of the same sounds, but then it's cross-pollinated with disco. So one of the different things that this track has is kind of that Marvin Gaye groove cross-pollinated with some real like hi-hat disco stuff going on as well, which to me also is very kind of on trend. To me, it sounds very Dua Lipa. Like I think Dua Lipa has kind of made big this vibe of contemporary disco, like a kind of new disco, neo-disco sound. So this track to me feels like it's kind of on trend with that sort of stuff, but has some other nostalgic elements, like definitely the strings, even the bass line, like the chord progression. I can't put my finger on it to tell you the truth, but it's like one of those chord progressions. I'm like, I feel like I've heard this before in maybe old crooner songs, like there's something really kind of classic about the bass motion.
And it's funny we're talking about these nostalgic song references, and you mentioned old crooners, because the chord progression is, a 6-2-5-1, or it's an A minor to a D minor to a G major to a C. And, that's the same move as Fly Me to the Moon. It's the same move as you hear in a lot of those old jazz ballads and those old jazz standards. And so, again, it's got this really traditional nostalgic chord progression being sung by a new contemporary confident female artists, and the blend of those is just intriguing.
The other like really nostalgic thing here actually is some of the sort of anthemic empowerment messaging in this song. So, even to me, this feels like a contemporary take on like I Will Survive, like that big message of like, I'm gonna I'll carry on, I'll survive, I don't need you, I can do it on my own, you know, that sort of stuff, sort of big, bold feelings like that feels reminiscent, but it's also very universal and very appealing, I think, as well.
And I think that's the other interesting thing about this song is I think we're hearing a song that is being driven thematically and being driven lyrically. I mean, musically, it's got some things that are kind of interesting, but again, what strikes you is this idea that it is a young female singing about how she doesn't need anybody else, and it's done so powerfully and so confidently, taking those cliches, those romantic cliches of, you know, buying flowers, which, you know, is normally something that you do in a as a couple or in a relationship, walking, holding hands on the beach, writing name in the sand. She's taken all of these traditional love story cliches and she's flipped it and said, no, I can do all of these myself and I'm better for it. So the strength and the confidence of her statements in the chorus, I think, is what really drives the song more than anything else, more than any other element. It is that empowerment angle. And it's not a love song, it's a self-love song. It's all about self-love. And maybe the timing of it is perfect because we've been through a few rough years and people need more of these messages. They need to feel a little bit more self-love and a little bit more confidence and empowerment. So I think the timing of it, the delivery of it, it's perfect from that point of view.
Totally. And it's not a complex song form, you know, like it's really complying to a lot of kind of pop song format.
Yep.
You know, we've really just got like verse, pre-chorus, chorus, verse, pre-chorus, chorus, and then it's pre-chorus, chorus, and that's it. You know, it's nothing structurally mind-blowing.
I just want to say too, while you're breaking down the form there, you know, we hear the song in total, I think, is around 3 minutes 20, you know, which is now the perfectly acceptable kind of duration for a pop hit. The chorus comes in at the 33-second mark, so we don't have to wait very long to hear that first chorus. And the main message of this song really is in the chorus. The chorus is there delivering all of the oomph.
Yeah. One other thing that works about this song, to me as a songwriter, I am always thinking about what I call the campfire test of songwriting, which is to say, could you actually take away all the bells and whistles of the production and the beat and all that kind of stuff? Could you sing this around a campfire with a guitar and it still be a great song? And I believe in this case, yes. You know, like I think it is structurally sound. It's got a great melody. It's got a great melodic trajectory. One of the things I really like about this melody that I was noticing as I was listening to it, and is a usable thing in your own songwriting, is, you know, there's these really nice motifs in the verse section, and then this pre-chorus is really the thing that builds tension into this banging chorus. And one of the things I noticed melodically is she goes to an unstable note in the key. So she's in a minor key here and she goes to the 4th scale degree. So la, that's the note, 4, 3, 2, 1, right? That's where the key is, la. So she goes 1, 2, 3, 4, I didn't want to leave you, I didn't want to know, right? So it's 4, 4, 4, and then she goes to another unstable note, 2, started to cry, but I remembered right? So 2, 3, 4, so it's a lot of 4 and a lot of 2 and then back to 4. Tension. And then what happens, there's this little like gap and then right, so she starts on 5, which is a stable note. So we have this really cool relationship between really unstable melodic notes in the pre-chorus to a banging, like stable, resolved, you know, that's where she's resolving the tension that she's built, which is what gives the chorus that huge feeling of really landing very powerfully and with great impact.
Yeah. And I just want to talk about the gap you mentioned there, because for me, musically, that's pretty much the highlight of the song. That downbeat, that beat 1 of the bar is so strong. It's the strongest position. And we hear so often that when you're building up with a pre-chorus, you know, the chorus lands on beat 1 in this really powerful and satisfying way. And what's great about this song is that there's just a complete dropout on beat 1. It's almost like all of the audio is gone, not just the voice and the track keeps going, but it all disappears. There's the gaping hole. And I think that's fascinating and so satisfying, because then on beat 2, it comes in really powerfully and really strongly, but it's just this little displacement from what we would normally hear. It's this little delay, and the delay is just a great point of difference, something a little bit different than what you would normally hear. I think that is one of the reasons this is so satisfying, this whole chorus. It's just that displacement and that delay.
Totally. And I just want to give one little songwriter hack, okay? If there are any hacks in songwriting, which I'm reluctant to say there are, but here's a little hack. Like when you hear something like that and you're like, man, that is so cool. But if I use it, it's just going to sound like that song, you know, and I'm going to feel a bit impostery and everyone, you know, is anyone going to be like, well, yeah, right, but she just did that, didn't she? So why'd you bother doing that? A little hack here is to take something like that and invert its position in the song. So when someone does something like that in a chorus, if I'm like, that's really cool, I want to use it, but I'm not going to use it in the chorus, what I'm going to do instead is use it in the verse section. So I'm going to have a little ba 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 ga da da, like not that rhythm obviously in my song, but you know, have that little pause and the phrasing starting off the downbeat in the verses, and then do the inverse in the chorus in my song. Like have the chorus land on the one. So actually use the coolness of that little silence on beat one of the bar, but not in the same position in the song as a song where I hear it and I'm like trying to mine it for the gold nuggets that make it really cool. It's like take that but put it in a different position in the song. So it's a really nice way to build your toolkit and add to your repertoire of moves in a song without imitating. You know, it's a form of emulation rather than imitation.
And once you become aware of a technique like that, you do start hearing it in other places. I'm pretty sure there's a Harry Styles track that does it in the verse, and it's just a little moment. It's not drawing too much attention to itself, but the verse is going along and it's a little break in the pattern where everything sort of sucks out for a beat and then comes back in. And it's such an effective way to just keep the ear engaged and not have things drag on too much.
The last thing I want to mention about this song is really Miley's vocal tone. I think that her vocal tone is super grabbing in this song and in general. I think, you know, she's got quite a low voice and even the way, not just how it's sung and her delivery and performance, the way that her voice is also recorded, that it's capturing certain frequencies in her voice that's really shining a light on the kind of edges and the grunt of her voice, which is captivating in and of itself, but also captivating in the way that it amplifies the emotion of what she's saying. You know, I think there's this real synergy between her voice, her tone, and the message of like empowerment and autonomy that this song is all about. So I think those two things work beautifully.
You hear A&R people talk about this a lot, the believability factor. You know, is there believability in the delivery of the message? You know, does the artist perform it in a way that makes you feel like they really mean it? And I think this is one of those songs where, yes, you absolutely believe, you know, the intent behind the lyrics. I was watching a great YouTube video the other day from Tristan Paredes, who did a lovely sort of reaction to the song from a vocal coach perspective. And he made this point that, you know, she's almost singing in this kind of indie way. She's gone through some issues with her voice in the past, and this is sort of a new version, I guess, of her voice. But he was talking about this idea that it's a little bit indie, it's husky, it's got a little bit of country and western in it. And again, what's interesting about this song and what we've been talking about is the blend of elements. You've got this indie, husky, country and western kind of, you know, sound, but it's in a pop format, and that blend of elements is intriguing. You know, we like to pull things together that don't always belong together and see what happens, and this is a great example of that.
So Benny, we are songwriters, and I never just want to be an analyzer of songs. I want to always create a bridge for myself and for other people between your listening and your writing. So what I want to do is present a call to action for the songwriters watching the video, which is 3 things that you can do today that will take you less than half an hour. That is a way that you can take some of the listening and analysis from this song and actually apply it to your own songs and songwriting. So the first thing that I would encourage you to do is write a song with a repeating chord progression. So this is one of those songs. This is a song that has the same chord progression, 6, 2, 5, 1 on repeat, except for the sort of dominant chord kind of leading back into the chorus, but let's forget about the music theory component. Let's just say it's a 4 chord repeating pattern. So give it a go, and your challenge is, how do you create a banging chorus with the same chord progression that is happening in the verses and pre-chorus actually. So it's just a 4-chord loop song, and what that really does for you is it trains your melody writing and it trains your lyric writing to create this strong contrast and strong distinction between the sections when the chords aren't going to do it for you. You know, you have to rely on melody and lyrics and storytelling to create that movement and that contrast. So that's call to action number 1 is 4-chord loop song. Okay. Call to action number 2 is to write a chorus lyric that is a list chorus. So we talked before about how the nature of this chorus lyric is that it's a list. So think about different lists that you could write where the chorus is going to list out the examples of the thing, and then the last line of your chorus is really going to state the thing. So one of the things I might think about, you could write just a love song. You know, you could write not a like self-empowered I don't need you song. You could write a I need you so much song, using the same format. Like list out the things that you absolutely love and could not live without about someone who you love. Or it might just be like, isn't today the most amazing day? And just list out the things that make a day amazing, right? So a list song, and I'm sure you could come up with much more creative lists for your song. The third thing that I would encourage people to do, another call to action here, is to take this idea of rhythm cross-pollination. So one of the things I hear in this song is an emulation of a Marvin Gaye track specifically, cross-pollinated with a different genre. So you could take that concept, like find a song in your playlist or just listen to some songs and find a beat that really appeals to you. And maybe it's a nostalgic beat, right? Maybe you go back in time to the 60s or 70s and find a beat in a song. Try and emulate some of the sounds of that beat and some of the groove without copying the beat. We're not trying to copy and like enter copyright infringement territory. It's much more about emulating, right? So emulation is different to copying or imitation. So we're going to emulate some of the groove and some of the sounds and then cross-pollinate that with a more contemporary groove, right? And it could be disco if you wanted to try the same thing, or it could be something totally different, right? Like it could be like a country rock groove, or it could be like a gospel groove. It could be anything, right? So just kind of cross-pollinating one thing with another thing that is not exactly the same and seeing what emerges out of the combination of those things. So starting rhythmically as well might be a different way for some people to start writing songs, but I think particularly for a song like this, the groove is so much a part of what's appealing, and it could be really fun to start a song that way.
So that's it from us. Thanks for watching and joining us on this breakdown of the Miley Cyrus song Flowers. If there's things that you noticed about the song or that you liked about the song, please let us know in the comments. You know, we've only covered a few of them. I'm sure there are many more that you would find interesting. So please let us know what they are. And yeah, we'd love to hear from you. And if you're interested in doing one of our songwriting courses that takes you through the songwriting process start to finish, please check out our Udemy page. We have 2 courses currently available with a 3rd one coming soon. Happy songwriting. See you soon. Bye.